You know, what if the theory of evolution had a secret flaw? One so deep that even its own creator, Charles Darwin, couldn't quite shake it. Well, today, we're going to unpack Darwin's horrid doubt, a question that really challenges how reliable our own minds actually are.
And here it is. This is from a letter Darwin wrote near the very end of his life. And he called it his horrid doubt. I mean, think about that. After dedicating his entire life to the theory of evolution, he's privately wondering if a mind that came from, in his words, lower animals could be trusted at all. It's an absolutely stunning admission.
So the big question is, why? Why would the father of evolution question the very tool he used to build his entire theory, the human mind itself? Let's dig into the argument that our source material lays out here.
Okay, so our source really boils Darwin's doubt down to this very simple, powerful question. If our minds are just the end of a long, unguided road, from amoeba to ape to us, why should we trust him? Why should any of our big ideas about science or love or reality itself be considered true?
And this is where we get to the real heart of the problem raised in the source material. The argument is that our brains evolved for one main reason: survival. And here's the kicker. Surviving and finding the truth, they're two totally different things.
The source gives us this really simple analogy to think about. Just picture a caveman, right? He hears a little rustle in the bushes. His brain doesn't sit there and weigh the options. Nope. It just screams, "Tiger!" and he takes off running. And that leads to this critical question. So, was it actually a tiger, or was it just, the wind? If you're trying to find the truth, this distinction is everything.
But this is the whole point of the argument. From an evolutionary perspective, the truth is completely irrelevant. The caveman who gets scared and assumes tiger and runs away, he survives to pass on his genes. The curious, truth-seeking caveman who hangs around to find out for sure, well, he becomes lunch. Evolution, in this view, selects for survival, not for accuracy.
So you've got this huge conflict, right? On one side, you have a brain that was supposedly shaped just to survive. And on the other, you have a mind that can do calculus and write poetry. The argument is that you can't logically get from one to the other. A survival machine just has no reason to care about the secrets of the universe.
This whole idea that our brains aren't actually built for finding truth is captured in a really powerful metaphor, the broken compass.
And that brings us to this really wild concept, cognitive unreliability. It's basically the idea that your own mind, the very thing you're using to process this right now, might not be a reliable tool for figuring out what's true, all because it was built for a completely different job.
And that is the broken compass analogy in a nutshell. If your brain is just a survival machine, trying to use it to find objective truth is like trying to find your way through the woods with a compass that doesn't point north. The tool is just flat out wrong for the job. Okay, so if our brains are broken compasses, how can we possibly trust anything, including the theory of evolution itself? The source material argues that this whole paradox points to a totally different explanation for why we have rational minds.
The alternative presented is this idea of a designer's mind. The thinking goes like this. Our ability to reason isn't some happy accident of survival. Instead, it was deliberately given to us by a creator. In this view, our minds can actually understand reality because they were designed to. We can trust logic because we were made in the image of a logical God, and science works because he made a universe with order that our minds were built to discover.
And here's what the author claims is the most important part. This theological framework isn't arguing against science. Instead, the argument is that it's the only foundation that makes science even possible. Think about it. For science to work, you have to assume two things. One, that the universe is orderly, and two, that our minds are capable of understanding that order. This viewpoint claims the only reason for that perfect match is a common designer.
All right, to wrap this all up, the source really raises the stakes here by framing this whole argument within a specific theological context. It argues the consequences of this choice are, well, they're profound. The author points to this verse from the book of Romans, arguing that it perfectly describes what happens when that designer's mind foundation is rejected. Your thinking becomes, in the words of the verse, futile, and your understanding becomes darkened. Essentially, that's the end of the road if you're trying to navigate reality with that broken compass.
And so, that brings us right back to where we started, with Darwin's horrid doubt presented as a choice. Is your mind a tool that evolved for survival, or is it one that was designed for truth? The entire argument we've just walked through really hinges on how you answer that one question.